Well, hello. Oops. The stream is deleted on Facebook. Looks like all right, we're gonna go live everywhere but Facebook, it looks like, and that's okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is Wednesday, April 23rd. It is a midweek day and it's after almost 6 p.m. It's at 6 p.m. It's after hours. And I'm on here once again in the evening for I guess we'll call this the after hours hour, if you will, with Laci, Las Vegas gal. Really just wanting to go live to talk to you a little bit about something that continues to come up in every single conversation that I have with you, with people like you who are reaching out to me about moving to Las Vegas. I'm bringing a very special guest on to join us here in a few minutes that I'm super excited to introduce you to, someone who I think of as a mentor, who I look up to, who has educated me and helped me become a better realtor, many realtors, better realtors, but specifically me, because I'm the only realtor that you should actually care about, right? Maybe. So I'm going to bring him on in a minute. And it's not an after hours live stream without a glass of wine, my friends. I got these awesome new geode wine glasses, got a little sip of wine in here. So we're going to have a little glass of wine. We're going to talk about the cost of waiting and what is it really costing you to wait to buy a home in Las Vegas or anywhere, honestly. Before I do say that and do any of that, I'm going to put it up on the screen because you know me, shameless plug. If you are thinking about moving to Vegas now or anytime, honestly, it doesn't really matter. If you're just toying with the idea, would love for you to text me at that phone number. You can also go to the link in the description of any video that I have out on the internet and say hi. Click the link. It'll take you straight to my calendar. Choose a time. Let's talk. Let's set it up so that we can have a conversation about what the heck you're going to do when it comes to getting to where you want to be, which is right here in my neon hometown. It is after hours, my friend. It is officially 6:01, and I'm ready to get started. So cheers to you, my friends. Hello. All right, let's get into it. Before I move on and introduce you to my only guest, the only guest that matters today. I was going to say my first guest, but it sounds like I'm doing like some sort of a radio interview. My first guest today, the only guest. I want to just remind you, these streams are for you. So yes, we have a subject that we're going to talk about. Yes, we're going to go into detail and like give you kind of a lesson, but please comment like it's hot in the comment box below. Drop it like it's hot. Give me your comments. Say hello. Let me know where you're from. Let me know when you're thinking about moving. And most importantly, use this as a time to ask questions that I can answer for you. We're going to do a live Q&A at the very end. You do not want to miss this. There's a really cool story that we're going to share with you that's going to really, I think, spell out the cost of waiting to buy a home. So just hang in here with me, but drop it like it's hot in those comment boxes. Let me know who you are, where you are, why you are, and then we'll go in there at the very end and do a Q&A and make sure that we get your questions answered. All right, before I move on, just want to say I'm really, really excited about, actually, as I move on, I should say, I'm really, really excited about the person who I'm going to bring on right now. It's nice to pretend that we know everything. It's nice to pretend that we, as realtors, have it all figured out. But I'm going to be the first one to let you know that we don't. And we are learning the job as we do the job. And that's just how this job is set up. So I've got almost 10 years in this business. I'm in the middle of my 9th year. I'm loving it. I'm having a blast. This is like the coolest thing I ever chose to do. Not just the real estate side, but just really helping you fall in love with living in Las Vegas. It's my honor every day to be able to talk to people who want to fall in love with my neon hometown. But in that process, I've realized I need a mentor. I need people to look up to. I need somebody who's going to help me stay sharp and stay ahead of it. And so the person who I'm about to bring on is that person for me. I'm super excited because I've been trying to get this person to come on for a long time. He's busy. I'm busy. It's not worked out thus far, but he has been an amazing partner to me in this business of ours. He's been an amazing mentor. He's taught me a lot. He's made me a better realtor for you. And the guy just knows what he's doing. So I want to introduce my sweet friend, my awesome, I guess my partner in crime, if you will, in this crazy business of ours, Cody Lewis. Cody, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah. How'd you like that intro? I'm trying to like fluff a little bit so you feel like you should come back and do this again. I've been trying forever.
I don't know. I could go for that every day. It makes me feel really important.
Good. Well, welcome to the Crazy Las Vegas Gal channel. Cheers. You may not have wine, but I have a glass for you here if you ever want to. All right.
I have
done.
water.
Cody, let's talk about like your history in the business while we get people joining us. For those of you who are joining, we're going to talk about the cost of waiting and what it's really costing you to wait to buy a house here in Las Vegas or really anywhere. Cody, you've taught me so many amazing lessons as a realtor. You've been doing this for how long? How many years have you been in the business?
I don't remember exactly how many years I've had a license, but I've been in real estate since 2004. So in October of last year, I hit my 20-year mark of learning this crazy business.
You've earned those grays and that beard there. I like that. I like that. We're earning it. I love that. You've been in this obviously double what I've been in it officially, but I know you've been in the business of real estate in Las Vegas and just living in the city for most of your life. You grew up here. For those of you who may not know it, Cody and my ex-husband, wonderful person, very good friend of mine, went to school together, went to high school together, played Little League together. This is crazy how we somehow didn't know each other and then found each other. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, that was pretty cool when you came up to me and said, "Hey, do you know this guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do."
And then I called him, do you know this guy? He's like, yeah, he did this in our science class one time. And I was like, this is weird. Anyway, so what I love about you, Cody, is that you are so good about educating realtors. Realtors are like your bag. That's you're a business coach. You have an MBA. You're a brilliant, brilliant mind. But you look at this business in a way that I've never seen anybody look at this business. And I'm so grateful to have been able to not only learn from you, not only tell other realtors about you, because I feel like we all need to rise together, but just to really soak up your style when it comes to educating our clients, because that's really what matters. For you, as far as like this business goes, I know you've done commercial. I know you've been in the new home business with your family as developers. I know you've done residential and all those things. As you've moved through this, talk to me a little bit about like your take on the market now, and really like some of the things that you think mistakes people are making when it comes to waiting to buy, or mistakes that they're making in the process of looking to buy or sell their home.
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. We're in a super unique time of the business because a lot of the stuff that usually happens behind the scenes is changing a lot, and the news is trying to report on it. And the news, they don't do a great job of that usually. So
they don't do a great job of it ever, dude, ever.
yeah. So like what we're seeing right now in this market is a lot of buyers and sellers have the wrong perception about what the relationship is with them and their realtor.
Yeah.
And, we saw headlines last year saying, this is the end of buyer's agents.
Right.
And that's turned out to not even be close to right. In fact, it's now where a buyer is benefiting more now than ever from having a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because one of the most frustrating things for me in my career has been watching people who think it's better for them to go it alone.
Yeah.
And, it's very self-serving for a realtor to say, right? This is how we make our living.
Like, it sounds like we're like scripted here, but it's true.
Yeah,
it's
but
true.
the truth is that in today's environment, I really can't make a good case for going it alone, right? And then you've also got clients who they have a realtor, but they're the smartest one in the room, and they don't listen to a dang thing the realtor says.
Right.
And sometimes I look at that from an outside observer and I'm thinking, bro, this gal does this every day. This is what she does for a living. And you're having a hard time taking her advice and recommendation, right? But the most frustrating thing, I think the mistake I see the most over this long span is buyers and sellers who try to time the market.
I know. And that's what today's about. I'm glad you brought that up. But tell me your take on that. Yeah.
Well, if you time the market, don't tell yourself that you were smart because you were just lucky. That's it.
Dang, you're laying it down today. I didn't know you're not smart if you try to time the market. That's the takeaway today. We're done. Thank you so much. We're gone. But the reality is that does become the truth almost all the time. So that's actually, I'm so glad you kind of ended with that. I hope you ended there. Even if you have more to share, please do. But I want to pivot from that really quickly, because it really is so important to me to get this message across and let people make their own decision, right? But if they don't have all the facts, and it's not just hearing me being a self-serving realtor saying, don't wait to buy because because I want you to buy a house with me. Like, none of this is for me. This is for you as the viewers. And I know that you want to feel that way when you're talking to other realtors. You're trying to help people. I want to educate you on what you need to know so that you can then educate your buyers and sellers so that nobody is missing out. Because of course, when you're missing out, then you're not only are you missing out as a realtor for the sale, but your clients aren't getting the best deal. And our goal is to always get our clients the best deal and to make sure that they're safe in this experience and to make sure that they come back again and again and again, right? So for me, at the end of the day, while we're talking, guys, we are talking about waiting for a housing crash. Here's what it's really costing you. We're going to talk about the actual cost of waiting to buy. Cody, I know recently we talked, and I'm glad you came on today to talk about this. You told me a story that blew my mind because again, you look at this industry so differently than most people, right? You really analyze things. I always joke with you and say your brain is a spreadsheet because it really is.
Oh, it's true.
Mine is a splatter painting, but yours is a spreadsheet. And so because of that, I just am so grateful for you and the way you think through things, that it's all down to the numbers, baby. So would you mind walking us through that $24,000 mistake, that client of yours that literally missed out on that amount of money because they thought they were going to be smart and time the market? Do you mind walking us through that process?
Sure. Yeah, this is just an example that I was thinking of just recently because I was actually talking with this client, and originally he was considering purchasing in 2022. So it was in December of 22.
Yeah.
And basically we had seen rates had been really low, and then we had seen this like massive increase in rates.
Right.
And so he was basically saying, I don't want to buy now. I think I should wait.
Right.
And my question to him then, and I wish I had been more emphatic about this, was, well, what are you waiting for? And
Right.
I think this story really shows that you better be asking your question of what you're waiting for, because
yeah, what's the real goal, right?
yeah, and what's the likelihood that that's going to actually occur?
Right. And thank God for your brains, Cody. Let me just interrupt you for a second, because my brain would be, here's why you shouldn't do that, right? I already have the answer, but you're so good about patiently letting the client really give you what is the real reason that you're waiting. So, all right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. So, so this story just perfectly illustrates it. And in December of 2022, the value of the house then that he was looking at was roughly $590,000. And at the time, the interest rates were around 6.5%. And so that would have made his monthly payment be $29.88.
Yeah.
Somewhere right there.
Now, let me pause for a minute. I'll go back to that screen in a second. Now, I'm trying to think of that time frame. Like, why would I, as a buyer, want to wait? Well, I would have probably thought that it was a good idea to wait as well in 2022, because we just came off of 2020, 2021, where we had free money. It was like sugar high. We got a cavity from how free that money was, right? It was like 1.5%, 2%, 3%. So 6 point whatever percent seems like, holy crap, that's, of course, I'm going to wait for the rates to drop. And everybody, because it was COVID and all the craziness going on in the world, really started to say out loud, the market's going to crash, market's going to crash. Meanwhile, we're here. I didn't take a day off during COVID. I don't know about you, but I did not get a day off, not one day off during COVID and since, because we have been just constantly head down, busting butt, because we had so many people moving here. Is that kind of the mindset that the client was sharing?
Yeah, and there was also another thing that I hadn't really thought about until now, and that is that people think that interest rates are going to change values of houses, and
Correct.
some think it's going to make it go up, some think it's going to make it go down. And I'm always really curious about the thought process there, because there isn't necessarily correlation.
Right.
Or also, there might be some correlation, but not causation, right? So there's some really important things to consider there, and we'll get into it here in just a little bit.
All right, I'm going to pause you guys. For anybody watching, we are here to answer your questions. We're going to run through this awesome story that's going to really illustrate, in my opinion, thank you again, Cody, for sharing. It's going to really illustrate the real cost of waiting to buy a home, and especially in the Las Vegas market with what we're seeing. So, but do me a favor, drop it like it's hot in the comment box below. Let us know if you have questions. We're going to get to our Q&A section here in a minute. Okay, let me go back to that screen if that's okay. Okay, so you're talking December 2022. I too would have been a little sick over a 6.5% APR at that time, because honestly, we just came off of people who were their neighbor John down the street, who everybody's comparing to their neighbor. Neighbor John got 3%, and he's every barbecue and every block party, he's bragging about that 3%. And you're over here about to buy a house for 6.5. You're going to be the laughing stock supposedly at the block party. I would have been waiting too. So what happened next, Cody?
All right. So really what the question is like, what was the scenario that he was waiting for?
Right.
I think we have this on the next slide, right? Yeah. So I asked him what he was waiting for, and he said, well, I'll be ready when the rates are around 5%.
Okay.
And if at that time rates had been around 5%, his payment would have been $450 less than it was at that time. Right. Okay. So at first blush, you might say, well, that's a big monthly difference. And I agree, it is. Yeah. But let's see what it cost him.
All right. I'm going to go to the next one. There we go.
Yep. All right. So 24 months later, the value of that house, or the houses that he was looking at, is roughly $650,000. So it was an increase of $58,000, which is $2,400 a month. and he was saving $450 a month. So if you're missing out on $2,400 a month and you're saving $450 a month, there was actual cost to the buyer of $1,900 a month.
So the value of the home went up over $50,000, which was an additional $2,400 in value per month that this guy could have been making on the home, or had in value, essentially, right?
Right. Yeah. And so he's like erroneously thinking like, oh, good, I'm saving myself $450 a month, but he's costing himself 26 of lost value. So it's really costing him. It's like setting $1,975 in ones on the street and just torching it every single month.
Every month he's losing almost $2,000 a month, every single month, by waiting for the rates to change. So that's the $24,000 mistake. Let's go to the next slide, because this was interesting to me.
Yeah. So if he had been right that rates were going to go down, it would have been a mistake still because of the math we just did. But what's even worse is that rates haven't gone down in that time frame. In fact, just looking at the comparison, it was slightly up.
Right.
And with a higher home price and a higher interest rate, now the payment would be $3,300 a month. And so not only are you not getting that monthly savings, you've also missed out on that appreciation. It's like a double whammy.
So really the reality check of waiting, at least in this scenario specifically, but this can be applied across the board when it comes to, we're going to show graphs here in a minute, everybody who's watching. Like, so again, if you have questions, drop it in the comment box below. We've got a few comments here that are interesting I'm going to bring up in a minute. But like at the end of the day, the reality check, to your point, is rates never went down. They went up slightly. So waiting not only has cost this man $24,000, this is a house he really wanted, from what you were telling me. He really did want this house, and he was kind of keeping an eye on it. And if he would have, watching that house, just using that as one example, that one example does apply across the city, because we can show you in graphs. The home prices went up almost 10% over 2 years. And to your point before, his now payment is $329 more than 2022. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So my question to you is should the buyer continue to wait? So now we're here today, right? Now we're here today. Should that buyer continue to wait? Let's talk about that for a minute. Before we move on to that, I know we're going to run into and show a couple of things, like some graphs that show the historical, because all we have is historical data, right? All we have is historical. So we're going to show median home prices and APRs. But I've got a couple of naysayers here in the chat. So I want to bring these up so we can start to answer some of their thoughts right off the bat. Couple of things. Sin City Syndicate, who's usually proposing to me during this and is not today for whatever reason, thanks, buddy, says Las Vegas is an anomaly. I think that's the person who proposes. I'm not sure. Las Vegas is an anomaly. Waiting now is best. I don't run in social groups where block parties control my decision making. Well, nobody said that you did, and nobody said that anyone did. But the reality is it's making an example of that, unfortunately, is a part of people's thinking process when they do make decisions. It's how will it be received? How am I going to feel about myself if I talk to my buddy John down the street and I know he's spending less and made a smarter, better money decision, and I'm over here feeling like a dummy? So it's less about them making the decision. It's more about you making the decision with all of these things socially as well as economically in mind. Hate to break it to you, Sin City, but a lot of people do think of a lot of things when it comes to making decisions. That aside, though, he's saying Las Vegas is an anomaly. What are your thoughts on that, Cody?
Well, yeah, Las Vegas is an anomaly, of course. It's different. It's its own market, but I'm not sure why it being an anomaly would make you conclude that waiting is better. It depends upon the fundamentals in the marketplace on whether or not waiting is better. And what's interesting about this story is that what made me think of it was that I was talking with this very buyer client the other day, and he was lamenting the fact, because he was saying, oh man, if I had just done it when it was time to do it, I'd be in such a great position. I'd have the house I want. And, I would have gained all
$4,000 in equity. My payment,
yeah. Right. Yeah. And then his question to me was, should I continue to wait? And so I was like, we don't know. Right. So like I was sharing this with you earlier, that there's two kinds of economists, the kind who don't know and the kind who don't know that they don't know. Yeah. Right. So ain't nobody know. Right. Nobody knows is what I always say. But what we do know is the fundamentals that were in the marketplace in December of 2022, and we get to see what happened. And I think it's hard to argue that those fundamentals are different today than they were then.
Right. Should we look at some of the fundamentals just so we can give people kind of the lay of the land?
Yeah,
I'm going to add something that we, let me see if I can remove this. I'm so excited. I love this thing that I'm doing here. And let me put us up at the top here, Cody. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for Reed to see. Can you see that better? Is that okay?
looks good. Yeah.
All right. So this is what are we looking at? This is the median home price per square foot. So this is kind of some of the stuff that you were using to come up with the math before. Do you want to walk us through this?
Well, yeah, this is actually a super long run version. I think it goes back all the way to 87 or
This
something
one's
like.
01 to 24. This is
Okay,
01.
01 to 24. So yeah, so this shows that there was that huge run up in the 04-05 timeframe, and the bubble popped, and we all know
Right.
the history of that. And if you were in the business, that was a painful time,
Right.
right? But you can see that there's been this like really good, consistent, steady increase since. And then if you look at the very right side of that graph, you see that little blip downward.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
a small time frame where interest rates went from 2.5% to 6% almost overnight. And it
Well,
just,
that's what your client that the story we just told was when everybody went, I'm going to wait for them to drop again, right? That's the moment that we were just talking about right there.
yeah. Yeah. So now look, if the fundamentals look like prices of houses are going to go way down, even if it looks like rates are going to be up, maybe there's an argument to be made there, right?
Right.
But that's not what we thought was going to happen, and it's definitely not what did happen. What did happen was, if I think the next slide shows like a zoomed in. Yeah.
Oh, let me move us out of the way.
Move it
There
to
we
the
go.
bottom. Yeah, there we go. So that shows that dip that we were just talking about, and then it shows how it's been on a steady increase since then. And that steady increase has been the result of the fundamentals, which is just supply and demand.
Yeah, that's what I always bring up, the supply and demand argument, where people say Las Vegas is an anomaly. We are an anomaly, which is why listening to experts inside that anomaly matter. That would be us. And the reality of the situation is that has the reason we haven't seen the big drops and the big, oh my God, the crash of the market and all those things, even when those rates have gone up, even in the last year. In the last year, we've seen rates went up. It was a weird election year, all those things. The one consistent that's never changed is low inventory. That low inventory has kept us continuously climbing and seeing that 9-10% increase year after year after year, which is unheard of in the past. So this is the median home price per square foot. But this, to your point, is the long run. What's the next slide? This is that 50-year history. Is this the fixed mortgage rate? So the mortgage rates, obviously, as we talked about, affect this as well.
Yeah, sorry, you cut out. I didn't hear what you just said there.
I was just saying a moment ago, like I was just talking about the supply and demand. The supply has been the biggest issue, is that's what's kept us the anomaly that we are. The mass influx of people moving here, literally we've added 1 million people in less than 10 years to Las Vegas. 1 million new residents have moved here. So that influx of people meets lower inventory, meets whether or not the APR is going up and down. Those two things have kept steady. So what's happening is regardless, even in a crazy year like last year when the rates were higher and it was an election year and everybody was kind of holding back, like, I don't know what I want to do. It was a slow year for us. That lower inventory and the consistency of people still moving here has kept us on the rise to where we're seeing that 10%, 10.5%, 9.5% year over year. So if I go back to that, and we look then at the APR, to your point, we're looking at a 50-year history, and then we can move on to the next one. We've got the 50-year history, and then it kind of comes down from there, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, well, you just described really well the fact that in the long run, the supply has not been able to keep up with the demand in Las Vegas.
Right.
And that little downward turn right there that you see on that graph is when the interest rates went way up. That obviously had a downward pressure on demand, which is why we saw that dip in price, in median home price.
Right.
But that was mostly just because of the shock factor, right? It was like consumer sentiment kind of thing.
Right.
It was the emotion side of it. When the realities of the market came back into play,
onward and upward we went. Yeah.
That whole time interest rates were increasing, the prices were still on a steady climb because the demand was exceeding the supply.
Yeah. I'm going to skip the 50-year history. I just want to go to this 10-year history, because that's kind of what we were just talking about, the 10-year, and just showing exactly what we've been talking about. Like the APR is going to do this. I mean, it's a heart monitor essentially on a daily basis. On a daily basis, it does 1,000 times up and down of what this shows here. But it's the fundamentals that really matter, that we see that continuously, I'm going to pull away from this for a second, that we see continuously affect this market, this anomaly market, whatever it might be, is that supply and demand is this constant thing that never stops. The people, listen, everybody figured it out. It's my fault. My big mouth made it happen. Everybody figured it out. Las Vegas is the ish, right? Everybody wants to live here. That's what's happening. The Sphere, the Raiders, all the stuff that's happening in the city, it's happening. So that constant development and really the popularity of Las Vegas has boomed. 1 million new residents in the last 9-10 years. Boom. Supply and has never really boomed up. It's actually gone down. And during that cheap money period, during the COVID timeframe, a lot of investors came in and sucked up a lot of that inventory, which didn't leave a lot left for the rest of the people who just wanted to move here and buy. So you've got that supply and demand. You got home prices that are doing this, and then you've got APRs that are doing this that make me want to throw up and feels like the worst roller coaster in the world. So everybody, I always get a little frustrated when people look and say, I'm going to wait for the rates to drop. And I'm like, the rates don't really make as big of a difference, except for when it's like a shock value and it only happens for a few months. And then people get back to reality of, well, I still got to move. I still want to go. It's still cheaper to live there than it is elsewhere, right? Still cheaper. The taxes are still better. All the other things that are bringing them here are still evident and real. But the supply and demand is the thing that's really the biggest factor in our city, specifically more than anything. APR is one thing, prices are this, that, and the other. But they've continued to rise because of that supply and demand.
Yeah, never try to predict the market based on rates, because rates don't dictate the values. It's the supply and demand. Now, rates do have impact on demand, for sure. Like we saw that in the graph we were just looking at. But
yeah, I can put it back up. Here we go.
But it won't necessarily drive the prices. And, you can prove that with math, but it's really not that interesting. The concept is still going to be the same here.
Yeah. I do want to talk about this 50-year history for a minute. This is just always such a reality check for me as a realtor, as someone who's also an investor who buys homes as well. Like I get, even though I'm in this business, and I know I don't know if you're the same. Well, no, you're not, because you're a spreadsheet and I'm a crazy art project. But I get caught up sometimes, even as a buyer, in should I even wait? I take myself out of the freaking industry alone. And then I just look at this and I go, well, what a reality check are we in right now? Look at the year 1980, 1981, 82, whatever, between 1980 and 1985. That's like right when I was born, like early, right after I was like 5 years old. Like, good Lord, look at those rates that our parents were paying. And they still did it. They paid it. They paid their houses off, did the whole thing. So I just always get such a reality check of like a couple of points here, a couple of points there, might have short-term pain, pardon me, for long-term gain. I always know there's refi opportunities. I always know there's other options. Getting the house when there's low inventory, getting the house before the prices continue to go up 10% every year, to me sounds like a better idea. What are your thoughts on this crazy 50-year history?
Yeah, in one of the CE classes that I teach for realtors, we talk about the secondary market for mortgages. And what we realize as we look at that is that at the end of the day, mortgage rates are determined by what the investors in those mortgage bonds are wanting to yield on their money, what they want their return to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know a lot of really savvy investors who are running out there to lend money at 2.5%. Right. So when that's happening, you're saying there must be something that's like an artificial factor causing that. And guess what? There was. Yeah. And then when you remove that artificial factor that's causing that, where do they go to? Well, they go to the long run average, which is like, what do you want to say? Between 5.5% and 7.5%. It's going to be somewhere in there, because because those investors in those mortgage-backed securities, that's kind of what they want to make long run. Now, it's going to change all over the place because of market factors.
Right.
But that will tell you, generally speaking, and the point of this 50-year history one is just that we're not really in a super high interest rate world, even though it feels like it, because just prior to now, they were stupid low.
Yeah. It was sugar high, candy high is what I like to say. Watermelon sugar high, 5-year history, and then the 1-year history. Yep. This is crazy. I get such a kick out of this stuff. And you're so good about, again, I always play the dumb blonde. I'm really not the dumb blonde. I always play into that a little bit because it's always fun for me to make sure, first of all, highlight the fact that you're brilliant and you've done so much for me in terms of this industry. And I hope if you're a realtor watching this, oh my God, please reach out to my man, Cody. Actually, Cody, can I give you a plug real quick?
Sure.
Can I give you a plug? How do I do this? Okay, plug. If you're a realtor or not, if you just think Cody's badass like I do, please subscribe to MBA Farmer on YouTube. Cody is about to launch a podcast, business focused coaching type podcast, very real estate focused. He's a brilliant guy. Sorry, don't blush. I'm gonna cover you for a minute while I'm talking about this. I have learned so much from Cody. He is a mentor of mine. He's been an incredible partner to me to help me refine my process. And get better at my job, honestly, and just really do the best by our clients. For me, it's one thing to be the most bubbly and the most friendly and the most amazing and the most approachable. It's another to actually get the best deal, to do the best negotiation, and to really do right by our clients so that they are getting the right investment under their name when it comes to Vegas. So thank you for that. Please subscribe, MBA Farmer on YouTube. Now you have to do the podcast, dude. Now you have to do it.
When you were saying you should do a YouTube channel, right? And I'm like, I'm not really comfortable in front of the camera and all this stuff. And you're like, well, it can all be edited. You can throw it all away if you don't want it, right? Then I blink and somehow I'm talked into doing a podcast. And before I can even launch that, I blink and I'm on a live YouTube. What?
Yeah. And the reason it's called MBA Farmer is obviously Cody has an MBA. He's a brilliant mind, but he's also a farmer. He also owns a farm as well. He lives in he lives 2 lives, 3 lives actually. And so if you jump over there now, MBA Farmer, you'll see some really cool farm videos from his other world outside of real estate. And he's going to marry that along with that life with his real estate life and all of what you're doing for this industry. Thank you for just elevating us and making us better. I just want to say that to you. And for anybody who's a realtor watching, if you're not engaging with Cody and not taking classes from Cody, and frankly, if you're not part of our synergy group at EXP, where you get to work and engage and interact with Cody on a very frequent basis to make your business better, you're making a huge mistake. So that's my take on that. So how do you like me now, Cody? Is that okay? I feel weird. I know you're weird with all this stuff.
Couldn't have said it any better, Laci.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to pop over and do some comments. Guys, drop it like it's hot. It doesn't have to be about the cost of waiting. I hope that this education, the process of what we walked through today has helped you. I will run through real quickly while we're waiting for you guys to throw some comments in the comment box, give us some questions. I want to run through a few things just to remind you exactly to back up what we were talking about. This isn't a pressure point. This isn't a pressure cooker. If you call me and reach out, which by the way, there's a phone number at the bottom of the screen, or you can click a link in the description of any video I do. Let's set up an appointment. Let's talk, even if it's just for 30 minutes. Let's just chat about your goals. Even if it's 10 years from now, I need friends. Let's talk. I need friends. Anyway, I want to run through and show you. Let me remove this one. Let's see here. Just like Cody said, this is the March. Let me turn this bad boy off. March 2025. We are up. So our median home price is $485. For units sold, our new listings price is $525. That delta between the two of those tells me that sellers are still trying to get the most out of what they can get out of their homes. They're trying to keep up with neighbor John, who made $525, even though the houses might not still be there, or his house might not be as dope as that, or maybe his house is better. I don't know. But people are listing houses for $525 and landing on $485 for a median home price. That means there's deals to be had, my friends. That means that right now you're in a juicy time. We're not going to be there forever, but as of right now, there's some delta between the listing price and the actual sales price. There's only about 2.5 months worth of inventory as of last month. And then for condos, we're looking at 306. This is a different story. People are listing it at 300. They're landing at 306 for that median home price, which means there's a little bit more demand on the condo side, which to me tells me when the rates have gone up in the last year and inventory has been a little slimmer and people can't afford as much, they're moving their money from a house to a townhome or a condo, a little bit less of an investment on the front side. Not if you add in HOA fees and things like that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But all that to be said is it's a shifting model all the time. But I want to show you this real quick. Underneath each of those numbers, I want to point out one thing. We are up every single year and every single month, every single year. So right now, this is March. Right now, March is up for the closed price, which is the first column on the left, 4.5% year over year for March and 8.5% year over year for March for condos and townhomes. If I were to bring up January, we are up 9.5% year over year for our median home price, January to January. March, 4.5% from that year over year. We are up, 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 up. Nothing is saying down on any of this except for the number of units sold for condos, and that's about it. So for me, guys, this is just an indicator to support what we were just talking about, that things are looking up. I'm not saying this is going to be a perfect market. I'm not saying that there won't be a downturn. I'm not saying that there's not a possibility of this. But what the biggest message I want to always leave you with is real estate is a long-term investment. If you're in the market to come in and do flipping and making money, that's a whole nother conversation. We can have a whole different separate thing for that. You should always be looking at real estate as a 15 to 30-year investment, so that you can get your money's worth from the down payment that you put down, from all the investment that you're putting into the home, keeping it up, all those things. If it's less than that, it's less than that. The good news about what we do and how we do business is we can help you run those numbers. So if your goals aren't 30 years and you're not going to live in the house 30 years, it's only going to be 5 to 7. Because honestly, I think the average time that people stay in their home is 3 years. I think now, if I'm not mistaken, 3.5 years. I have to look that up. Am I right, Cody?
I've always heard that the average mortgage duration is 5 years.
5 years. Okay. So I'm even less than that. But with that being said, like, so, but the mindset should be 30-year, because if you're thinking I need to make that money in 5 years, that's a different mindset. That's a different process. So we need to know those things and those goals up in the upfront, but it's a long-term investment. So don't focus on what happens tomorrow. Don't focus on what happens the next month. Don't focus on what happens next year. If you're in a home and you bought a home, let that lengthen out a little bit. Give yourself a couple years before you start worrying about it. But in Vegas, we're up 10% on average year over year, over year, over year, over year. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. This is where we're at. This is where we're at right now. So waiting can cost you $24,000 in 2 years, my friends, if you're doing the math like we did with the guy that we just showed a few minutes ago. So,
you know, we can speculate a lot about what we think is going to happen to interest rates. I have all my own theories about all of that stuff. But I think the bottom line is that whether interest rates go up or they go down, the equation for a buyer is probably going to be the same. When you math out all those different potential scenarios, almost every one of them leads to you shouldn't be waiting. And so just in good conscience, as a realtor who wants to represent the interests of the client to the best of my ability, it's saying we have to be honest as realtors with clients to tell them these things and let them see it this way. Yeah. Now, there are some circumstances where maybe it doesn't make sense for them, but at large, we would not be doing our job if we were saying, oh yeah, we think you should wait.
Thank you for that. All right, let's jump in and let's see the spicy comments. I didn't get an engagement proposal. I didn't get a proposal this time. I think I made Sin City mad. Sorry, Sin City. I usually get a proposal every time. It's actually kind of fun. Bet on Mason says, hey, Bet on Mason. Oscar Love, hello, lady. Living in Omaha, David Matney. Hey, David. Good evening, Lacey. Hey, how are you? Bet on Mason. I promise I'll reach out when I feel I won't be a bother. Oh, you're never a bother, Mason. Please reach out. We'd love to chat with you. Oscar said he brought rum to the live stream. I brought wine, you brought rum, and Cody brought water. So we're good to go. Neil Warren says from Sushi Tachi in North Las Vegas. Hello. Hi, Neil. It's always good to see you. I love when you join us. Janice Farmer. Hey, Cody and Lacey. Hey, Janice. We love you so much. Janice knows Cody very well because Cody helped me recently on selling their home and getting them into a new one. Thank God for Cody's big brain. Thank God for his experience, because we were having some issues with that for sure. Jake Gallen, our sweet Jake Gallen, correlation, not causation. Look at Jake Gallen picking up on some of the MBA terminology that you guys like to use. I hate when I'm in the room with you guys. I feel so stupid every time. I love it. Neil Warren says, what's going to change the value of homes is unemployment. What's your take on that, Cody?
I would agree to the extent that unemployment rates change demand. So if there's a big change in buyer demand, that could change home prices. I'm not sure that, it's interesting because real estate tends to perform very well during a recession.
Yeah. And
lots of times a recession will see higher rates of unemployment. So that seems like actually a reverse correlation, a negative correlation there. So I mean, all those things that factor into demand are going to have an impact. We just have to ask which things are going to have the highest upward and downward pressures to try to predict what the result will be from it.
And I think it's back to the original question you asked that client that you mentioned, the one that $24,000 mistake, the one who missed out, unfortunately, on what he went through, is you know, and I didn't mean what I said when I said make fun of him. I actually feel really bad for your client. I really feel upset that he waited. But at the end of the day, it's like, we're making an example of the unfortunate decision. But the question is what is it that you feel good? What's going to make you feel good about your decision, right? For him, it was, I'm going to feel better if I have a 5% rate. Great. If that's what we're going for, let's look at the math of that. I'm going to feel better if I get the price of the home to be under this number. Great. Then that's your goal, da, 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 da. But our jobs have always been, to educate, really, to educate as we're leading you through the process. And the education sometimes comes in the form of, well, let's reframe that, because you trying to get the cost of the house to be this doesn't really make as much of a difference in this, which is what I think you're really going for, which is your payment, which is your this, which is that. So it's a similar conversation when it comes to all the things that affect it. Unemployment can affect it, APR can affect it, demand can affect it, all of those things. What's in it for you? What's your focus? What's going to affect you at the end of the day the most? And that's our job. Our job is your realtor. And if you don't have a realtor that's doing this kind of work for you, you're not in the right room, and you need to be talking to someone who's willing to run these numbers and not make you feel silly about thinking about it that way, but just help you reframe your questioning and make sure that your goal is focused on the thing that's going to have the most impact at the end of the day.
And the impact on your mortgage payment is likely to be way more impacted by the values of the properties than it is by the interest rate you're paying. That's the thing that you got to factor into all of this.
Yeah, a lot of people say, I don't want to pay 605. I want to pay 590. Okay, well, what if we can get it for 599? I don't want to pay 599. I want to pay 590. Well, what's the difference? Are you thinking your payment's going to be that much difference from 599 to 590? Well, let's look at the difference. Like, it's just a constant, like, let's talk about the difference in what this really makes to you. Because a lot of people don't know how to do the math, and that's okay. I forget how to do it myself sometimes.
And if home values have been increasing during a high interest rate period, what is the likely outcome of a lower interest rate period? Is it that prices would go down?
Right.
Probably not. They probably
low
will go
interest
up.
rate drives more people to the market, which drives more demand, which drives more competition. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Oh, look at Jakey. Jakey's in here to heckle you, man. I told him we were going live today. He said, I heard Cody can drop it like it's good. Jake, I love you. Mark says only 2 days of the price matters, the day you buy and the day you sell. That's a freaking great point, Mark. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
I'm stealing that one.
Feeling that one. I like that one a lot. Neil says 50-year average of interest rates is about 8%. Thank you, Neil. Neil's awesome. Neil's on almost all of our lives. He's amazing. We've got some really good people that are here. Let's see. Autumn Rose has caught the live. Hey, Autumn, thank you for tuning in. That's amazing. I love this. I'm looking at all these amazing comments. Let's see. Mason, I definitely don't want to wait to buy a home. I do need to take care of some family financial stuff. I wish I could make it right. Make a way right now, which is why I want to reach out, because I hate to bother people. Oh, Mason, don't worry about it. It's no bother, but we appreciate you respecting us so much. Thank you. If you guys are just tuning in, I'm going to keep going through these comments. We're going to wrap it up when we're done. Please rewind. If you're just tuning in, please either go to the beginning, because Cody has just walked us through a very easy way to understand why waiting is probably not a great idea. It may be a good idea for you, but the reality of the situation is we want to run those numbers with you. We want to talk through it with you. I want to talk through it with you one-to-one. I do play the dumb blonde on TV, but I'm really not the dumb blonde. I have people like Cody behind me who've been educating me on how to be the best realtor I can be for the last several years. He's amazing. He's been an amazing part of my business growth and my business understanding. And I want you to know that, we're in this for you. We want to make sure that we answer your questions one-to-one. Every person's situation is different. I will say, though, while every person's situation is different, the reality of the market is not going to change because of your situation. And the reality that we spelled out today is that waiting is probably not a good idea. But thank you so much. Let's see. Neil says on average, 1/3 of the homes have a price drop. Yeah, Neil. So I'm going to touch on that for a minute. So I think you're probably looking at what's going on Zillow or Realtor.com. A lot of people watch that, and a lot of people who I talk to utilize Realtor.com and Zillow.com as them knowing the market and them keeping an eye on the market, which is fine. Those are great tools to use, and that's amazing. Price drops to people, tell them that means the market's going down and the market's changing and that the market's crashing. Price drops mean that either they didn't have a good realtor to educate them on the reality of what their value of their home was. The sellers are trying to keep up with John, their neighbor, wanting to get out of their house because he got it 2 years ago and he thinks he should get that too, or whatever that number is or that dateline is. Or they has sentimental value, or they've overpriced the home because they want to test the market and see what happens when they don't sell. Most of the homes listed on the market aren't really listed for sale. Not most, but a large majority aren't really listed for sale. They're listed for test. And so there's a couple of things that really affect that, because then the sentiment across the world is, I'm seeing a lot of price drops in Las Vegas. I'm going to wait until the prices keep dropping. That is not any way to watch the market. Watch the market through people who have the visual lens of the market that we need. What's your take on that, Cody?
Well, I just would say that's a good thing for buyers, and I wouldn't wait until that's only 3% of all the houses on the market, or where you're having to be outbidding other buyers, right?
Yeah.
So another reason not to wait.
Yeah. Stephen Pierre, Pierre said, Perry, how do I say his name? Peria. Oh my God, Stephen, I love you. I can't remember how to say your name. I wouldn't own my home if it weren't for you and your channel. I bought in 2021, but I've watched you ever since. I'd do whatever you suggested. Stephen, I'm sorry I can't say your name, but I am so happy that I can say thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen, do me a favor. If you're still watching, send me a text. I'd love to say, hey, I probably still have your information in my system, but just want to say hey and catch up and see how things are going. So grateful that that you said that. Thank you. That's a sweet compliment. John Harris says supply and demand play a significant role in buying a house, but strategy is more important than anything in this market. Would you agree? What about you, Cody?
Well, yeah, I would agree, because of all the things we just said. It's about focusing on the supply and demand and what you think your strategy should be relative to what you think is going to happen. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, John. As always, I want to hire John. John and you, I think, would be best friends. John's got a spreadsheet brain as well. John gives some amazing comments. Leolo says, Laci, a rule of thumb used to be that your affordable range is about 3 to 4 times your salary. With the higher cost of homes, does there seem to be a new multiplier of an annual salary to make payments affordable? Leolo, great question. Cody, what do you say?
Yeah, this is actually a really smart, sophisticated question here, because it's one of the things I think about regularly because of the stuff I teach about the mortgage business. And this concept that people are accepting a higher and higher ratio of their expenses being towards their mortgage, that does actually give me a little bit of pause.
Yeah.
Because that could have long run implications. Now, what I will say is that I remember how I mentioned those markets in the secondary market, the people who are buying the mortgage bonds.
Yep.
Those guys are making decisions based upon long history, a lot of knowledge, and they're only willing to buy those if they have debt to income ratios that are acceptable to them to buy relative to the risk of the yield, right? So that is another different supply and demand that's happening in the marketplace. And as long as people are still willing to buy those mortgage bonds, now there are some exceptions to this, because we did have a mortgage crisis back in 2007, but as long as they're willing to buy those, it means that they believe that the originators are originating them with the proper debt to income ratios. So that gives me some comfort, but I do think this is a good question and we should be watching this.
I love that. Let's do it. Cody, do you think I could get you to come on here and, like, I don't know, maybe once a week or something? And we could do like maybe once a month. I don't know. Once a week's probably a little bit aggressive, but you know me, I do everything aggressively. Like, I don't know. This has been super fun. And we got a few more questions, but I just want to say thank you, because you know, again, I play the dumb blonde on TV. I'm not, but I definitely, you know, I always want to maintain approachability. I don't want to ever scare anybody away with too many numbers or too many things that make them feel dumb. Because I'll be very real with you. A lot of people do make decisions based on how they feel versus the reality of the numbers. And so I just feel like this is a good balance. I don't know. I see a beautiful something coming from this. I don't know.
I know you're going to be
proposing to you. I'm proposing to you right now.
Then I'm going to blink again, and then I'm going to be doing lives by myself, and that really starts to get me scared.
Oh, you better watch out, sir, because I'm about to make you do this on your own.
I'm not doing that.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Dead on Mason says, I propose we all take a sip of wine. Nah, but 3 to 5 years in a house? Question smile. I'm down for it. Whatever you want to do, buddy. Thank you, Mason. Please reach out. I'd love to say hi. Oscar, I'm still on the sideline because I'm waiting for my employer. So so I can afford to love me, so I can afford to buy. Oh, Oscar. I love Oscar. Oscar's been a fan from day one. He's amazing. He's been around for a long time. He shows up at events. Oscar's the shit. I love Oscar. All right, Neil. Oh, I don't think the market's changing. I think people are overvaluing their house. I definitely, yeah, agree. That's kind of what I was saying. A lot of people are overvaluing their home. They're testing the market. They're not being educated by their realtors. I don't do any kind of a listing that's going to put the house well above what it's worth. I'll simply just say no, thank you. At the end of the day, it's just not worth the pain of watching a death by 1,000 drops of prices. Death by 1,000 drops. So definitely agree with you. John says if consumers think that of or believe rates is, what is that saying? Think of the rare, despite their current economic situation, the accessibility demand will likely increase and resolve any problems. If consumers think of or believe rates, I don't know how to read that. I'm going to move that one to the side. Joe says, any advice or resources if I'm looking to become a real estate agent in Las Vegas once I buy a home in the coming year? Thank you for your help, the both of you are doing. Jay, my man, yes. You know what I want to have you do? I'm going to throw this up here. Jay, text me right there. My phone number is right there. I would love to hear from you, like tonight. Like my phone is right here. Bada bing. Text me right now. Text me. Would love to say hi. I'm going to probably hand you over to Cody because I'm going to give you the scoop on Cody. Really, without all the people of the world watching, I'm going to give you the real scoop. He's the shit. He's the best. He's amazing. He's going to really teach you how to be an amazing realtor. Please reach out. I would love to chat with you. I love talking to new realtors. I love talking to realtors who are new. I love talking to seasoned agents. I love talking to people who own their own brokerages that are tired of owning their own brokerages and want to get out of it. And they want to have someone like Cody at the helm to help them run it and do it right by all the agents that join them. So yeah, if you're a realtor watching this, and I know you are, you're all lurking in the back. A lot of you watch. You want to learn from me. I love it. Little brush it off my shoulders here. But I got Cody before you did. So get off my back. Okay. Jay, we'd love to hear from you. Cody, any final words? Any final words for, people who are watching this, whether they're realtors, whether there's people who are thinking about waiting to buy, what would you say as far as advice goes? What's your take on what's really going to happen in this market? I would love to hear your take.
I love what you've been saying all along, which is that everybody's circumstances are different. It's the reason to be talking with people that you trust, that they know what they're doing and that they're going to be honest with you about it, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously, you could look at this and say, well, they're biased. They want transactions to occur. Of course we do, because when a transaction occurs, it means that there's a happy buyer and or seller in that transaction. So, I mean, generally speaking, Las Vegas real estate is a pretty balanced market. We have always had a little bit of an undersupply, which is why you see those prices continue to increase. I just don't see all the Californians, people in Washington and Oregon deciding all of a sudden they don't love Las Vegas because so far Laci keeps telling everybody how great it is and making our traffic suck.
It's my fault. We have traffic a little bit now. It's my fault. I don't see people who live in California saying, oh, I you know what? I actually really love paying 13% tax. I love covering, everybody else's this and that and the other. Like, I don't see any of that changing, honestly. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you've said it very well.
Thank you. Thank you again, Cody. Please, if you can, guys, do me a favor, support my man here. He did me a huge favor today coming on. Realtors or non-realtors, subscribe to MBA Farmer on YouTube. Go check out his fun videos, not the one about a pig. Don't talk to me about the pig one, but the other ones are great. And stay tuned. I am pushing him very hard to launch a podcast because I think the world, not just Las Vegas realtors, I know that the world of realtors will benefit so greatly from your knowledge and your take on this business. You've done real estate residential, you've done real estate development, you've done real estate commercial, you've done real estate education. You are kind of the jack of all trades when it comes to our world. And I'm just really, really grateful that you took the time to do this for me. Thank you so much. If you are a realtor, you're a sucker if you have not signed up for this man's classes, because that's how I met him. And it's the best. You're the best.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, when I tell them about my mentor, Cody, and the I'm like, yeah, so I'm like spice and he's like vanilla bread. You know what I mean? Like spice and butter. You know what I mean? Like, I always tell people we're in the same room. Like, I need to usually bring it down if you not just because you are so calm and so consistent.
That sounds boring right there.
No. It's beautiful. It's what I would love to be. I aim to be. I aim to be calm and consistent and brilliant, which is what you are. That's not boring, that's brilliant. So thank you for your brilliance. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. We had quite a few viewers today. I really appreciate all of you who came online. If you're watching this after the fact, please still comment. We would love to answer your questions. I will be tuning into the comments and I try to answer as many as I can. And if you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas ever, even if you're considering it, please, please, please text the number on the screen or click the description of the video or any video on my channel. I would love nothing more than to just say hi, schedule a phone call with you, and just give you some advice. And, you know, I need a friend. So like, come and be my friend. So thanks again, Cody. I'm really, really grateful. This has been super fun. Cody's going to be back, whether he likes it or not. Cody's coming back. Go subscribe to MBA Farmer, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks.